Chapter 21 Various Moves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a while, Xiao Shiding arrived at Mr. 13's bar, which was already entering carnival time. When she came to Yi Fan's booth, there was only one Meng Guanghua left on the sofa next to him, who was so drunk that he fell asleep on the sofa. Yang Zhenghao hugged the girl and went somewhere unknown. Huang Yu ran to a nearby hotel, opened a room, and went dark. On the sofa in the middle, Yi Fan sat side by side with a woman dressed voluptuously. When he saw Xiao Shiding coming, he waved the woman next to him to leave and asked Xiao Shiding to sit next to him. The woman glanced at Xiao Shiding with some resentment, but she could only leave reluctantly. Xiao Shiding came to sit next to Mark and poured him a glass of wine. When she handed it to his mouth, she deliberately withdrew her hand and took a sip herself. There was some slight complaint in his tone and expression. It turns out that Mr. Yi was already accompanied by someone just now. Then wouldn't it bother you if I came here? Yi Fan tilted his head and looked at her with a wicked smile on his lips. Miss Xiao, are you jealous? How dare I? Xiao Shiding continued sourly. Mr. Yi, you are so good, so naturally more women will fall for you. Since other women want to pounce on me, what about you? Yi Fan asked bluntly. After this verbal back and forth, the two of them are now basically at the show-stopping stage. Naturally, there was no need for Xiao Shiding to act coy. She twisted her body slightly and got closer to Yi Fan, and the strapless dress fell down a little without leaving a trace. Her shoulders and collarbone were delicate and attractive. Half of the snow is ready to be seen. If I say that I just want to pounce on you, Mr. Yi, will you agree, Mr. Yi? Xiao Shiding deliberately breathed hot breath into Yi Fan's ear, and her lips pretended to be careless and gently brushed against Yi Fan's ear. The heat in Yi Fan's body suddenly rose up. This woman is indeed a temptress. Yi Fan put his hand on Xiao Shiding's black-stockinged leg and rubbed it. Then you can try it. With permission, Xiao Shiding took a mouthful of ace of spades and then gave Yi Fan a sweet kiss. The aroma of wine exchanged between their lips and teeth, making the ambiguous atmosphere more charming, and their hands gradually became less honest. There was only so much room for play in the booth. After a while, Yi Fan put his arms around Xiao Shiding's thin waist and disappeared into the crowded dance floor together. The two danced close to each other, and soon Xiao Shiding's whole body was lit by Yi Fan, making her face flush and her legs weak. Afterwards, Yi Fan took Xiao Shiding directly to his exclusive luxurious big bedroom in the bar. Although Yi Fan has not fully understood the system mechanism problem that he is worried about, there is not only one way to play this kind of thing. The two played until dawn, trying all kinds of moves except the last step. Yi Fan was greatly satisfied both physically and mentally. The sun shines into the room, and Yi Fan, who has been genetically upgraded, is still very energetic after a night. Xiao Shiding was extremely tired. Seeing Yi Fan getting up to leave, she quickly hugged Yi Fan's waist, cleared her hoarse throat and said, Mr. Yi, are you leaving now? But you haven't really touched anyone. Xiao Shiding thought Yi Fan disliked her, so she quickly added an explanation. Mr. Yi, have you misunderstood me as a casual woman? This time I am with you. This is my first time. Yi Fan was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Xiao Shiding looked very experienced and still stuck to her principles. It immediately made him like her a lot more. No, it's just that this matter is not urgent. You are now my villa housekeeper. We will have many opportunities in the future. Yi Fan comforted softly. Xiao Shiding felt a lot more relieved now. Thinking about the beautiful life between the two of them in the future, her face could not help but heat up. After coming out of Mr. Shirsan, Yi Fan went directly to the company where he had an internship, which was the sub-brand company of Ichuan Company that he won last time. In the past, Yi Fan always rushed to the subway with the image of a miserable social beast, but this time it was different. He wanted to drive his popular supercar and clean up all the rat shit inside that had made things difficult for him before. Taking the elevator to the 15th floor, as soon as he stepped into the company door, the front desk immediately greeted Yi Fan. Xiao Fan, you haven't been here for a while. Why have you suddenly become so handsome? Xiao Mei at the front desk was a young lady who was very good to Yi Fan before, and the two of them were somewhat familiar with each other. Yi Fan smiled and stepped forward, stretched out his hand and hooked Xiao Mei's finger. Sister Xiao Mei has become a lot more beautiful recently. Seeing Yi Fan's handsome face say such words, Xiao Mei's face quickly turned red. in the past, Yi Fan had always been a dull and honest little brother of an intern in her eyes. He didn't talk much at ordinary times. Why was he so flirtatious this time when he came back? The girl's heart that had been sleeping for many years couldn't help but start beating again. Then I'll go in and look for personnel. Sister May, you're busy. At this time, Xiaomei was still a little dazed by Yi Fan's charm, so she had no choice but to nod blankly and send him in. Yi Fan was about to go to the personnel office, identify himself, and then fire off the team leader Nie Zhan, who had been making things difficult for him before. This kind of person who is not conducive to internal unity is not qualified to stay in his company. However, after taking a few steps, Yi Fan happened to meet Nie Zhan, who was frowning. Seeing Yi Fan, Nie Zhan became angry immediately. Yo! Yi Fan, are you willing to come back? Is that how you young people have no energy at all at such a young age? How dare you resign from me after only a few months of work? I guess you came back today to formally handle your resignation. But don't think that you can stop working just because you mentioned your resignation. We are just waiting for representatives from various subsidiaries under Next Quan to come to our place for a meeting. I'm in need of a handyman right now. Now, go to the tea room to make some tea, and then pour tea for everyone later. Nie Zhan immediately said a lot of words angrily and instructively, and his disgusting look was the same as before. If this matter were placed on the former Yi Fan, he would definitely feel angry and unfair. However, Yi Fan already knew that he was at the highest point at this time, so looking at Nie Zhan's appearance, he still had an inexplicable urge to laugh. This may be what people often say, when you stand high enough, some people no longer even have the qualifications to make you angry. Yi Fan was in a good mood at the moment. Looking at the spitting Nie Zhan, he suddenly became playful. What's the point of just expelling him? This guy must be so scared that he wets his pants. Yi Fan pretended to be a little embarrassed and asked. You really want me to pour you tea? Nie Zhan looked like he didn't expect Mark to dare to ask back. Of course. Don't think what will happen if you are not in the company from tomorrow on. I'm telling you, if you don't work hard today, with my connections and skills, I can spread your name, Yi Fan, to the entire industry and no one will dare to use you anymore. Do you believe it? After saying that, Nie Zhan hurried to the conference room to prepare his PPT. If he performs well in front of the representatives in this report, he will definitely be on the promotion list next time. Just thinking about his promotion and salary increase made him extremely excited. Yi Fan looked at Nie Zhan's hurried away figure with a smile on his lips. I happen to be thirsty, so let's go and listen to my company's internal meeting while drinking tea. Chapter 22. The chairman is actually by my side. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Fan made himself a cup of the most expensive de Hongpo in the tea room, and then walked into the huge company conference room without haste. When he opened the conference room door, Nie Zhan was on the stage passionately explaining his plan, but seeing how he boasted so much but knew little about the specific details of the plan, Yi Fan knew that he must have squeezed these plans from his interns. At this time, the other subsidiary representatives in the conference room were all listening intently to Nie Zhan's report on the stage, so no one noticed Yi Fan coming in. Yi Fan slowly sat down on the last seat directly opposite the reporting table, then blew on the hot tea in the cup and drank it slowly. When Nie Zhan saw Yi Fan's rebellious behavior, he immediately stopped what he was explaining, pointed at Yi Fan and shouted. Yi Fan! What are you doing? I asked you to come in to serve tea and water to the company representatives. What do you mean by sitting on your seat and drinking tea? Is the position here where you can sit if you want? Representatives from other subsidiaries followed Nie Zhan's line of sight. Among them, Jiang Jianming, the manager of Yichuan head office, looked shocked when he saw Yi Fan's face clearly, and he immediately got out of his seat and stood up. Dong! Chairman! You are also here to observe the meeting. Hearing Jiang Jianming's address to Yi Fan, all the subsidiary representatives present were stunned. They had heard the news that the shares of the head office were acquired for a long time, but they never expected that the acquirer would be such a young man in front of them. All the representatives also stood up one after another, and under the leadership of Jiang Jianming, they bowed to Yi Fan in unison and said hello. Hello, Chairman. As for Nie Zhan, who was still yelling at Yi Fan just now, his eyes were so wide that they looked like they were about to fall out. When he came to his senses, he was filled with uncontrollable panic. The intern he once exploited in every possible way is now the chairman of the board who has acquired an entire company group. And just now, he was still outside desperately asking Yi Fan to bring tea and water. Nie Zhan's legs couldn't stop trembling, and he couldn't stop the fear in his heart even after swallowing wave after wave of saliva. Seeing everyone bending down and waiting for his order before they dared to get up, Yi Fan quickly waved his hand. Don't be so polite. Team leader Nie wants me to pour you tea. Manager Jiang, why don't I pour you some first? Jiang Jianming quickly waved his hands frantically and said no, we here all rely on your brilliance, chairman, to work in the company. How can we let you pour tea for us little ones? After he finished speaking, he immediately slapped the table and shouted angrily at Nie Zhan. Team leader Nie. Are you going against the grain? Even if you didn't arrange the seats of the guests at the meeting for our Director Yi, you actually dare to let Director Yi come in to serve tea and water. Are you losing your mind? Crazy. Me. How could Nie Zhan dare to say anything back at this moment? If he had known that Yi Fan was now the chairman of the group, he wouldn't have dared to do that even if he had 10 more courages. Why? You are so guilty that you can't say anything now, are you? Are you still pouring tea? I think you, a blind person, need to drink more to wake up. As Jiang Jianming spoke, he immediately picked up the mineral water at hand and splashed it on Nie Zhan's face. No matter what Jiang Jianming did at this moment, it would not be too much. If Nie Zhan offended his chairman like this, if he didn't punish him and teach him a lesson, where would the boss's face be? Of course, no one at the scene knew that this was what Yi Fan wanted to achieve. Yi Fan found the scene in front of him very interesting, and the tea tasted better. Manager Jiang, our company has always been based on the people-oriented business philosophy, but if there are always a few rat excrements who try to exploit newcomers, our company's reputation will not be good if word spreads, right? I know that all of you here are busy, but in these tiny corners under your hands, you should always have more snacks. Hearing Yi Fan's sincere words, Jiang Jianming immediately understood what his director meant. He quickly bowed and apologized again. I'm sorry, Director Yi. It was my incompetence and negligence. I will definitely handle this matter seriously, thoroughly investigate the previous injustices in the company, and fire the relevant personnel. Especially you. Nie Zhan. You should go to the personnel department immediately to get your resignation letter. You have been fired. Nie Zhan was completely dumbfounded. He originally wanted to use this meeting to get to the next level. Why can't I even keep my job now? I was wrong, Dong Yi. Please give me another chance. Nie Zhan wanted to go over and pull Yi Fan's trousers to beg for mercy, but the next second he was pulled out by the security guard called by Jiang Jianming. The commotion in the conference room had long been spread outside, and the colleagues at the workstation looked at Nie Zhan, who was dragging away crying, in confusion, but at the same time, they were extremely happy because of this. The entire company had been fighting this piece of shit for a long time. I just don't know which executive was so kind today to help them solve this cancer. Everyone looked at the activities in the conference room curiously. After a while, several other company representatives came out surrounded by Yi Fan. Huh? Isn't that our former colleague, that little intern Yi Fan? Yes, that's him. But why do the big guys seem to be so polite to him? That the colleagues looked at several executives walking toward them in confusion. Jiang Jianming quickly asked his colleagues at the workstation to stop what they were doing. Everyone, stop for a moment. This is Yi Fan, the chairman of Yichuan Company. The chairman is here to visit you. Please applaud and welcome us. Varied. What? All the colleagues looked at each other in shock. You looked at me and I looked at you. Everyone's face was filled with expressions of disbelief. Several executives have taken the lead in applauding. After the colleagues reacted for a while, they followed the rhythm and applauded vigorously. This is too magical. So the chairman is actually by my side? Really, at Dong Ye's age, who could have imagined that his true identity would be so awesome? That's right. I think Director Yi and I were both interns who joined the company in the same batch, but before I became a full-time employee, he was already the chairman of the company. Is this the gap between people? Tot. After people from all departments of the company came to say hello to Yi Fan, the senior executives gathered around to send Yi Fan out of the company. Xiao Mei at the front desk saw the senior executives coming out. Just as she was about to say hello and say goodbye, she heard the senior executives respectfully address Yi Fan and Yi Dong. At this time, my computer also received a mass email of information about the chairman sent by the company. Xiao Mei covered her mouth in disbelief, then she just called Yi Dong Xiaofan. This is too treasonous. However, after seeing Yi Fan's high-spirited appearance among the senior executives, she felt even more admiration than she had ever felt before. After coming out of the company, Yi Fan got into the Koenigsegg. All the accounts that need to be settled have been settled, next is a day to concentrate on enjoying. Yi Fan is going to take stock of what he has now and then make the next arrangements. Chapter 23 How much does it cost to add WeChat? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Yi Fan drove the car back to the school parking lot and put it away, he counted the assets he currently owned in his mind as he walked. 500% shares of Jinjiang Group with a market value of 60 billion, Yunhai Villa with a market value of 10 billion, 100% shares of Yichuan Company with a market value of 55 billion, and Mr. Shursan Bar with a market value of million. There is still just over 14 billion in bank cash. There is no need to forget about Koenigsegg. More than 2,000 million is just a fraction. Yi Fan converted the above-mentioned assets, and after the calculation, he found that his current worth was only close to 400 billion, not even 500 billion. This is not possible. The progress is still a bit too slow. Yi Fan couldn't help shouting angrily in his heart, God, you should give me a real gold digger quickly. Yi Fan passed the school road with a slight distress, and the voices of several boys discussing heatedly could be heard. If you could choose one of the beauties in our school to be your girlfriend, who would you choose? Actually, compared to the school beauties, I think the graduate student from the international department is the most interesting. Are you talking about Yu Ke, the money-worshipping girl who is famous for having many spare parts? Don't tell me, her natural sexy charm is really unforgettable. And I heard that although she has a lot of spare parts and is completely unambiguous about spending money and collecting gifts, many men are willing to be hung up. It is said that so far, no man can actually ask her out. Woolen cloth. More than that, not to mention dating, there are not even many people who have added me on WeChat. Damn it, if I were rich, I would really want to try to pick up such a tough woman. Several boys smacked their tongues regretfully as they talked, but of course they just thought about it. How could any of those people who spent money on Yu Ke in the past have a good ending? Yi Fan suddenly became energetic after listening to the conversation of several people. What they are talking about is the money-worshipping girl who is bent on making money that they need most now. As long as Yi Fan can spend money to get rewards, he doesn't bother to care about things like character. If her character is really bad, then just get what you need and just go with her for nothing. No matter how you calculate it, Yi Fan will not lose. Yi Fan quickly stopped a few boys. Hey buddy, how can we find this money-loving senior you're talking about? Several boys looked at each other in confusion when they heard Yi Fan's question. One of the boys quickly put his hand on Yi Fan's shoulder and admonished him with a good-for-you look. Brother, I advise you not to wade into this muddy water. In the past, many boys did not believe in evil like you, but they all ended up being sucked by Yu Ke miserably. In the end, they only ended up with nothing. This woman only loves herself. We must not follow in their footsteps. Yi Fan smiled lightly. If he wanted to suck blood, he would suck the blood of gold worshippers in a systematic way. It's okay, just tell me and I'll just listen. Well, since you want to know so much, let me tell you. At this time, their international department should be having an equestrian class on the school's racecourse. The boy still wanted to persuade Yi Fan, but found that after Yi Fan got the answer, he waved goodbye to them and walked towards the racecourse. Several boys looked at Yi Fan's retreating back and couldn't help but sigh. Another great young man is about to embark on the road of no return in life. Yi Fan arrived near the racecourse. At this time, a group of men and women dressed in equestrian clothing were standing in the inner circle, waiting for the class to start. Yi Fan saw one of them with an extremely graceful figure at a glance. Even wrapped in layers of equestrian clothing, the woman's figure was still vividly outlined. The extreme waist-to-hip ratio, which is obviously better than that of ordinary people, perfectly highlights her sexy femininity. Her thick waves are draped over her shoulders, and her big red lips make her look intensely gorgeous. What a bright flower of wealth in the world. No wonder there are so many men following each other. In what was supposed to be a good class, Yukir was surrounded by boys who were asking her for help, but all they asked was whether she was thirsty or hungry. Yukir frowned impatiently as she looked at the drinks and bread held in their hands. She doesn't lack these few mouthfuls of food and drink, so just trying to get close to her with these things is too cheap. Yi Fan approached the crowd and checked Yukir's appearance score. It actually scored 94 points. This is much higher than Yi Fan imagined. This also means that there are a large number of valuable rewards waiting for you ahead. Yi Fan quickened his pace with excitement and came directly to Yukir. Hello beauty, how much does it cost to add you on WeChat? Please tell me the number, that there is a specialization in the art. For such a clearly targeted prey, Yi Fan does not need to use any tricks, just prescribe the right medicine. Yukir was a little surprised by Yi Fan's directness. This was the first time she met a man who was so straightforward. However, she was not someone who hid her money-worshipping nature. Instead, there was a hint of pleasure on her face at Mark's directness. Moreover, she was well versed in all kinds of luxury goods, and she could immediately tell that the man in front of her was wearing Versace clothes, so he must have some wealth. Not to mention that face, he is much more handsome than before. Yukir brushed her hair with her hands, and was instantly mesmerized by the fragrant smell. For the sake of how funny and handsome you are, handsome guy, I can give you a friendly price, a bag worth around 4 to 5, and I will give it to you via WeChat. Upon hearing this number, the other boys who were originally surrounding Yukir silently took a few steps back. However, Yi Fan's reaction at this moment was, that's it. Those boys were so sincere just now. He thought this woman had such an appetite. In the end, all I need is a 4 to 5 yuan bag. This is not a gold digger girl. She is clearly a good woman who is diligent and thrifty, okay? At this time, Yukir didn't know that ordinary college students could afford tens of thousands of yuan for 1 or 2 years of living expenses. For the man in front of him, that was just the price of a meal. Yi Fan couldn't help but shook his head. He had never spent 10 yuan on a single purchase for several girls before. He really couldn't afford the 3 melons and 2 dates worth 4 to 5 yuan. Yukir saw Yi Fan shaking his head and thought it was too expensive, so he turned around and wanted to leave. At this time, Yi Fan suddenly pointed to the 3 foreign horses that were released from the stable for classes and said, "Let's do this. I'll just wrap up these 3 horses and give them to you as a meeting gift." That Yi Fan has some knowledge about the price of horses. The quality of these 3 foreign horses is very good. One horse should cost at least more than 10 yuan. After 3 horses, this price can be regarded as a decent gift. However, as soon as Yi Fan said this, everyone around him laughed, and several boys who were pursuing Yukir even laughed sarcastically. Chapter 24: The Most Profitable Industry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yang Zhua, who was the most attentive to Yukir, was the first to speak out in front of everyone. This classmate, the horses we have in class are all kindly lent by the school sponsors, and these horses are not domestic horses worth a few $1,000s as you think, but foreign horses with a starting price of 100,000 yuan. Horse. Not to mention that there is a horse among them that sells for as much as 20 yuan. At such a price, you just said you want to buy it all. This is too much. Yukir also felt that Mark's tone was a bit loud. Although she worships money, she is not completely brainless. First of all, is it possible for a man to spend so much money on her when he first meets her? Secondly, the combined price of these 3 horses is hundreds of thousands. No matter how rich the second generation is, they still have to weigh this expense, right? She speculated that Yi Fan probably didn't know the price of these horses, so he accidentally made such wild remarks. Yi Fan glanced at Yang Zhua, who looked like a knight of justice, and couldn't help but feel a little funny. He didn't respond to his words, but turned around and chatted with the administrator who was leading the horse. "Uncle, 60 yuan is enough to buy your horses, right?" That the administrator frowned when he heard this. "Isn't this a joke? How can a student afford 60 to buy these horses? And 60 is not only enough, it's a lot more than that. If the money is really enough, there will be no objections from the sponsors, but the problem now is that it is impossible for a student to have so much money." The uncle waved his hand to tell Mark to stop making trouble. At this moment, Yi Fan suddenly thought that in order to trigger the highest possible reward, he should pay more. So he said again, "Let's do this. I'll transfer the 200 million to you, and then you can just fill in the name of this beautiful woman as the owner of the horse later." "You're so ridiculous. You keep pretending more and more outrageously. You're still bragging for 200 million and don't have to do any drafts, aren't you?" Yang Zhua and several other boys laughed at Yi Fan more and more unscrupulously. In the end, Yang Zhua went out of his way to praise himself in front of Yukira. Look, what's the use of these big idiots with just looks? A man like me who is dedicated to you is the one you should entrust to your life." Yukira just rolled her eyes at him. Although the new man's words are a bit exaggerated, at least he is handsome. It's also pleasing to the eye. How could Yang Zhua, who was short and frustrated, have the nerve to step on others to improve himself? Even if she is a money-worshipping girl, she is also a money-worshipping girl who pursues good looks, okay? The administrator uncle on the other side didn't want to delay the class time anymore, so he advised Yi Fan. "You are a young and good young man, so stop using your words here and leave as soon as possible." "Oh, uncle, just show me the payment code. You'll know right away whether I have money or not." Yi Fan is a little numb. These days, if he wants to spend some money, he has to ask for help. What kind of world is this? The people around who were watching the joke also started to cheer. "That's right, uncle. If he wants to humiliate himself so much, just let him show off. Let's see if this rich brother wants to transfer a few cents or a few hundred." The surrounding people laughed and laughed. The administrator had no choice but to show the payment code. Yi Fan took out his mobile phone to operate it, and the smiles on everyone's faces that were waiting to burst into laughter became more and more obvious. After the transfer was completed, a mechanical female voice announced immediately. "The wealth treasure has arrived, 200 million yuan." What? The laughter that was supposed to pour out suddenly stopped. Everyone's mouths were wide open, with expressions of shock on their faces, as if their jaws were dislocated and could not be closed at all. Yang Zhua snatched the administrator's cell phone with disbelief on his face, and others quickly stepped forward to take a look. 1, 10, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. It's actually 2 million yuan, not a penny. This is too scary. How rich a person must be to just casually say that he would immediately spend 200 million to buy 3 horses that are not of equal value at all. Everyone was instantly covered in cold sweat, as the recipient, Yukir, was also full of surprise after seeing the numbers. Ding! Congratulations to the host for spending 94 million yuan on a good-looking woman with a score of 200, triggering a critical hit reward, and obtaining 1000% of the shares of Baoli Real Estate with a market value of 75 billion and the mastery of equestrian skills. Damn, damn, damn. The most profitable real estate industry is the nationally famous Baoli Group with a market value of 100 billion. Yi Fan was ecstatic in his heart. This time, he made a lot of money with his small fortune. Ding! Congratulations to the host whose asset accumulation has reached the level of 100 billion, and the system will soon be upgraded to an intermediate rebate system. Woohoo! It turns out that the system will be upgraded. This wave is completely more joy than joy. A blue progress bar flashed in front of Yi Fan's eyes, rushing from 0 to 100% in a short while. Yi Fan saw that there was something called favorability in the original appearance score panel on Yukir's head. At this time, its value suddenly jumped from 10 to 65, before Yi Fan could ask, the system started to introduce him automatically. Congratulations to the host for completing the system upgrade and opening the favorability measurement plugin. When the host increases the favorability value of the consuming goddess object to 100, the host and the consuming goddess object will become soul mates that are in perfect physical and mental harmony. After entering this stage and then engaging in lover behavior, the host will have a high possibility of obtaining unexpected superpowers. Big surprise reward. The intermediate rebate system will also open the random task drop module. From now on, the system will drop tasks in specific scenarios. The host can choose to accept or reject. After completing the task, you can get specific rewards. After listening to the system's report, Yi Fan secretly clicked his tongue. This system belongs to the boss, right? So good at drawing cakes. A critical hit is a possibility, and this big surprise reward is also a possibility, but fortunately, I was smart and had the foresight to avoid following Xiao shitting, otherwise, he would have almost missed an opportunity to get a big reward. This random mission sounds very good, and it gives me another way to get rewards. The communication with the system seemed to have taken a long time in Yi Fan's mind, but in reality it only took a few seconds. The expressions on the faces of the people around were still shocked. Immediately afterwards, the boys who originally laughed at Yi Fan did not dare to fart, and quickly bowed their heads silently and retreated to the back. The girls all had their eyes filled with admiration for Yi Fan. Yi Fan came directly to Yukir. Beauty, these 3 horses will be yours from now on, you can do whatever you want. Yukir's eyes were bright, the favorability level started to soar again, directly reaching 70. Yukir took the mobile phone in Yi Fan's hand, added her WeChat account, kissed the screen, and then slowly stuffed it back into Yi Fan's arms. Yang Zhuo was so angry when he saw Yukir's eyes drawn to Yi Fan that he quickly thought of other ways, thinking that he must make Yi Fan lose some face. Chapter 25 Random Mission appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, the 3 sweat horses flexing their hooves on the side attracted Yang Zhuo's attention. Got it. My equestrian skills are ranked among the best in the entire imperial capital. Isn't this the most appropriate way to slap this arrogant pretty boy in the face? Yang Zhuo immediately stepped forward and shouted between Yi Fan and Yukir. Huh, what's the matter with a few bad guys? Do you dare to have an equestrian competition with me? Let's see who is a truly capable man. Yi Fan laughed at Yang Zhuo's magical brain circuitry. If he spends $2 million, he is not considered a real man, but if he just rides a horse for a few times, he is called a real man. Besides, with his current wealth, if he had to take over if some minions came to cause trouble, then he would be very busy every day. But before Yi Fan could speak, Yukir on the side defended him first. Yang Zhuo, can you stop embarrassing me here? Who is classmate Yi? Are you worthy of competing with him? I advise you to pack up and get out of here immediately, and stop talking about these nonsense here. Core. I'm doing this just to let you see who is truly a good man worth trusting. You believe me, except for me, no one in this world can be as affectionate to you as I am. Yang Zhuo continued to express his feelings to Yukir infatuatedly, and at the same time glared at Yi Fan viciously, as if he wanted him to look good. At this time, Yi Fan had completely classified this person into the IQ basin and was too lazy to give him any more looks. When I was about to take a step forward, the system announced, Ding. Mission drop, have an equestrian competition with Yang Zhuo. If you win, you will get the hand of the Holy Doctor reward. Yi Fan paused. Damn, this system is so stupid. Just when he thought about not competing, a reward suddenly came to tempt him. Yi Fan checked the introduction of Holy Doctor's hand and found that with this skill, he can detect various diseases with just one hand, and at the same time, he can also make corresponding treatments and cure all diseases in the world. God, doesn't having this skill mean that he directly transforms into Huatuo's living miracle doctor? This reward is a must. I happen to have mastered the equestrian skill just now, so why not show it to this retarded man? Yukir wanted to help Yi Fan teach Yang Zhuo a lesson, but Yi Fan slowly raised his hand and said, It's okay. Anyway, I just have some free time right now, so let's compete with this kid as a way to exercise. Yukir was a little surprised when she heard this, and looked at Mark with a touch of tenderness in her eyes. This man was actually willing to compete with an idiot like Yang Zhuo for her. It seems that he really values himself. Yukir felt a hint of sweetness in her heart, and quickly dabbed water on Yi Fan's cheek. Seeing this scene, Yang Zhuo suddenly became furious again. The woman he was pursuing so hard actually kissed this pretty boy in front of everyone. Ha! He must use his superb equestrian skills to disgrace the man named Yi and never dare to appear in front of Yukir again. Yang Zhuo quickly seized the opportunity and rushed over to choose the best and most expensive horse among the 3 horses. Yang Zhuo, what do you mean by taking over the best horse? Don't forget, these 3 horses have been bought by classmate Yi. Yukir quickly came out to seek justice. I see that Mr. Yi is so confident, which horse he should use won't be a problem to him, right? Yang Zhuo said shamelessly. I didn't expect that. Classmate Yang Zhuo is very accurate in judging people. My strength is indeed much better than yours. Since classmate Yang is not sure, I will lend you this good horse first. It just so happens that I don't like horses that others have ridden on. You don't have to thank me too much. Yi Fan followed Yang Zhuo's words and responded, but the latter was shocked. Yang Zhuo couldn't take advantage of anything, so he had no choice but to go to the starting point of the competition with a dark face to prepare. The sandy area used for equestrian lessons at Taito University is not particularly large, so the event they chose was an obstacle course that would allow them to compete on both sides of the sandy area at the same time. The rules of the obstacle course are that on a sandy surface 90 meters long and 60 meters wide, riders must jump over all obstacles set up on the site in accordance with the prescribed route and order. If a rider hits an obstacle midway, exceeds the prescribed time, or the horse refuses to jump or falls off the horse, he will be penalized. To put it simply, whoever completes the process the smoothest and makes fewer mistakes will score higher and be the winner. In order to increase the difficulty, Yang Zhuo proposed to directly merge the obstacles of line A and line B into one line, and the competition would be considered completed only after completing the entire distance. Yi Fan was not afraid anyway and readily agreed. A circle of people suddenly gathered outside the sand. Who do you think can win, this rich man or Yang Zhuo? I think Yang Zhuo will win. Isn't his equestrian skills always very good? I heard he even won an award in the city. Poor rich brother, I've already succeeded in showing off. Why do I have to compete with Yang Zhuo? That everyone shook their heads sadly while discussing. Upon hearing this, Yukir quickly scolded the people who were discussing. What are you talking nonsense here? My brother Yi Fan will not lose to that bullshit Yang Zhuo. That ever since Yi Fan showed his extraordinary financial resources, he is now like a top good man in Yukir's heart. How could such a man lose? Even if he lost accidentally, it was not because of Mark. Anyway, Yukir has automatically put on Yi Fan's exclusive invincible filter and does not allow others to say anything bad about him. Everyone had no choice but to quickly shut their mouths angrily. At this time, Yang Zhuo was riding at the starting point of the competition, feeling confident in his heart. The classmate who served as the referee signaled the start of the competition, and Yang Zhuo immediately rushed over the sign pole first. Yi Fan started gracefully and leisurely. Yang Zhuoxian crossed a 1.2-meter high obstacle, which was completely comfortable for his level. He glanced at Mark and saw that Mark had not yet reached the first obstacle, and a proud smile immediately appeared on his face. Next, as long as I control my mistakes within 3, I will definitely be able to crush Yi Fan into the dust with a high profile. Yang Zhuo continued to cross a 1.4-meter high guardrail obstacle, followed by a 1.4-meter high double obstacle. When crossing the double obstacle, parts of the second obstacle were accidentally kicked off by the horse's legs. Fortunately, this mistake was within my expectation. Nothing at all. It would be great if that guy Yi Fan can get over the guardrail obstacle in front. You don't need to worry at all. Yang Zhuo was thinking about this and wanted to turn around and laugh at Yi Fan, who was still far behind his current results. He saw the latter shaking his head at him inexplicably. Yi Fan saw Yang Zhuo's first mistake at this time and was very disappointed with his level. I originally thought that he was really an opponent who could compare with me. I didn't expect the first mistake to happen so soon. In this case, there is no need for me to play with him, so let's settle everything quickly. Chapter 26 Play Hard to Get. You are listening at novelfull.audio. TCH, you're still shaking your head. What are you pretending to do? Yang Zhuo turned his head indifferently and prepared to continue his game. Suddenly, there was a rapid sound of horse hooves. Behind him on the right side of the track, a strong wind hit him, and a lot of sand and dust were raised in the air. "What's the situation?" Yang Zhuo turned around and saw Yi Fan and the bloody horse he was driving. The two had a tacit understanding as if they were integrated into one body, and they crossed two obstacles in the blink of an eye. The arc and speed of the jump were as smooth as walking on flat ground, without any hesitation or stagnation. After a while, Yi Fan rode his horse and approached the obstacle at the same level as Yang Zhuo. Seeing this scene, Yang Zhuo's expression was so surprised that he was completely stunned. How could anyone be able to control a horse to such a silky smooth state? This is no different from the level of international players. The people watching outside the venue were also stunned by Yi Fan's superb equestrian skills. "I'll go. Rich brother's equestrian skills are awesome. I think they're more than enough compared to those Olympic athletes. Where can I stop? Brother Qian's level can completely beat those competition players you mentioned, okay. In terms of his proficiency in horse riding and smoothness in passing obstacles, I dare say that there is no second player in China at present." "Got it." It seems that Yang Zhuo lost miserably this time. His skills are good, but compared to such a talented player, he really can't even lift a finger. That Yukir also didn't expect Yi Fan to be so good. Amid the compliments from the people around her, Yukir's favorable impression of Yi Fan skyrocketed. Everyone's teasing fell into Yang Zhuo's ears. He didn't want to believe that he could lose to Yi Fan even in his most proud equestrian skills. He quickly turned around and tried to pull the reins to seize the time to run through all the obstacles. However, at this moment, a horse's cry passed by his ears, and Yi Fan had already ridden the sweaty horse over the obstacle parallel to Yang Zhuo, leaving only a swift and handsome figure behind him. Because Yang Zhuo reined in the horse too quickly, the horse underneath him was in pain and lost control. He knocked Yang Zhuo onto the sand and fell to his knees. He hurriedly climbed on the horse to catch up with Yi Fan, but before his hands could touch the reins, the victory bell came that Yi Fan had successfully crossed the last 1.8-meter high obstacle. Moreover, during the entire obstacle course, Yi Fan did not make any mistakes that would deduct points, and he was a well-deserved winner with full points. "Do not." Yang Zhuo knelt on the ground in disbelief and roared to the sky. His dignity as a man was completely defeated by a man named Yi Fan today. And he was defeated twice. Amidst the spontaneous applause from everyone, Yukir came to Yi Fan with joyful steps and took the initiative to tidy up his clothes and wipe away the sand and dust. "Classmate Yi, you are so awesome. Can you teach me equestrian skills next time?" Yukir intentionally or unintentionally touched Yi Fan's arm and praised her coquettishly. Yi Fan was very pleased with this woman's show of kindness. As expected, she was indeed a money-worshipping girl who could provide emotional value. For a moment, Yi Fan really felt a lot more stalwart. "Okay, I'll teach you how to do it myself when I get the chance next time." Yi Fan deliberately said hand in a heavy tone, which made Yukir hammer him with her little fist and secretly sighed, "I hate it." The equestrian class teacher who had just arrived saw Yi Fan's performance and hurriedly came forward to shake hands and get to know him. "Sir, your skills are so good. I wonder if you are interested in teaching these students equestrian skills." The equestrian class teacher knows that his level is far inferior to that of Yi Fan. If Yi Fan can come, it is not impossible for him to abdicate directly and make way for someone better. "Teacher, you praise me. I am also a senior student in our school, and I am usually busy. I still have to rely on your expertise to teach students." "What? The rich brother is actually just a senior student." Yi Fan's words instantly shocked the graduate students who were watching. Has the outside world evolved like this now? A student who has not yet graduated from a bachelor's degree can spend 200 million as much as he wants, and his equestrian skills can easily beat the level of many international players. The equestrian class teacher obviously didn't expect that Yi Fan, who was so good at skills, was still just a student in school, so he could only shake his head and leave with regret. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission and receiving the hands of the Holy Doctor reward. As the system notification sounded, a force penetrated Yi Fan's body from the ground, and soon the force concentrated in the palm of Yifan's right hand. Yifan slowly opened his right hand, and the power surged fiercely in his palm, as if he had endless healing energy. At the same time, countless medical knowledge also sprung up in Yifan's mind. After getting the reward he deserves, Yifan will naturally not waste it here anymore. Okay, you can go to class and I won't disturb you anymore. I'll contact you when you have time. Yukir wanted to know more about Mark, but she saw him waving his hands to her and turning around to leave, which made her a little confused for a moment. This man has done so much for himself and now he is leaving without saying anything. A knowing smile appeared on the corner of Yifan's mouth as he turned around. I have already done enough on my own initiative. No matter how much Yifan wants to get a reward, he will never fall into the dog-licking state as before, even if it is a suspected dog-licking behavior. Now that his bait has been laid out, it is necessary to play hard to get it this time. In the future, the intersection between the two will just wait until Yukir takes the initiative to come to him. The class wasn't over yet. Seeing Yifan leave indifferently, Yukir had to hurriedly pin his WeChat account to the top. Thinking about the next step after this was over, Yifan came out of the sandy field where the equestrian class was held, and when passing by the nearby school playground, he suddenly heard a commotion next to him. Looking away, it seemed that someone fainted and fell to the ground. Yifan took a closer look and found that the person who fainted was actually Tao Sile. He walked over in 2 or 3 steps. At this time, Tao Sile was surrounded by anxious and overwhelmed classmates. Please give way. Yifan quickly passed through the crowd and squatted down to check Tao Sile's condition. The moment he grabbed Tao Sile's wrist with his right hand, the 4 symptoms of myocardial ischemia appeared in Yifan's mind. It turned out to be myocardial ischemia caused by excessive exercise. After knowing the cause of the disease, Yifan also knew which treatment method to use. I saw Yifan move the palm of his right hand to the position of Tao Sile's heart, preparing to use the force of his palm to speed up the blood flow in her body to supply it back to the ischemic myocardium. It seems that this classmate knows how to use first aid. I guess he is going to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation on Tao School Beauty now. That the students around him looked at Yifan's confident look and watched him operate with confidence. However, after Yifan placed his hand on the designated position, he did not use the pressing technique that everyone thought he would use, but really just left it quietly. The onlookers were stunned. Damn it, this person is not taking advantage of him at this time. Chapter 27. I'm getting more and more excited. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A righteous male classmate who was watching immediately stopped Yifan's behavior loudly. Why are you like this? The school beauty's life is hanging by a thread. Why are you still taking advantage of her? After saying that, he would pull away Yifan and let himself perform first aid. However, at this moment, Tao Sile, who was still pale and unconscious, slowly opened his eyes, and the color on his face gradually returned. Wake up! Tao School Beauty is awake. Someone reminded. The male classmate Chingy stepped back with surprise on his face. Good guy, can this really cure diseases? Then I will try this next time. Tao Sile opened his eyes here, and the first thing he saw was Mark's handsome face looking at him with concern. How come we haven't seen each other for a few days, but this man has become so much more handsome? Tao Sile's heartbeat had just recovered a lot, when her heartbeat accelerated again because of Yifan's handsomeness. The next second, she noticed that Mark's hand had been placed on her heart. Tao Sile's face quickly turned red. Yifan, what are you doing with your hands? Yifan calmly replied, Oh, I am treating you. It will be fine in a while. Yifan pressed his palm hard, and Tao Sile felt the feeling more obvious. Waves of heat came from the ups and downs, and his heart became warm. It seems that Yifan is really treating himself, but this kind of treatment is too shameful. After a while, Yifan slowly removed his right hand. How do you feel now? It feels quite good. Tao Sile was so shy that she forgot to delve into why Mark was able to treat her. She quickly stood up and tried to change the subject. By the way, last time I asked you if you wanted to go for a fluorescent night run with me, why didn't you reply to me? Didn't I reply? Yifan took out his phone and clicked on the interface, only to realize that after he answered Yang Zhenghao's question about what Tao Sile wanted to do with him last time, he really just glanced at the message and forgot to reply. Moreover, there were so many beauties around him recently and there were so many things to do, so he almost accidentally forgot about this athletic beauty. I missed it by accident, but with your body like this, you'd better recuperate for a while, and don't participate in these high-intensity exercises. Otherwise, if something happened to Tao Sile, wouldn't he have one less person to spend money on? Yi Fan would not allow such a thing. When Tao Sile heard Mark saying this, she thought that he cared about her quite a bit, and her original anger towards him disappeared. Seeing that you are still a little weak now, I will take you to replenish your body. After Yi Fan finished speaking, he pulled Tao Sile, who looked confused, into the car and rushed to the Wenjina Hotel, the top luxury health hotel in the center of the imperial capital, although its most famous main business is real estate investment and development. The Baoli real estate company that Yi Fan acquired before actually has two major business clusters, good life services and industrial finance. Covering various fields such as construction, property, economy, commerce, hotel, education, cultural tourism and financial control business, it is a veritable polygon warrior. The Wenjina Hotel that Yi Fan wanted to take Tao Sile to was the most famous hotel representative of his Baoli real estate. He made an excuse to take Tao Sile to have a meal, mainly because he wanted to come and see his property. Koenigsegg Speed brought the two of them to this hotel, which is known as the top healing hotel in China, within a few minutes. Not only can it bring an unprecedented healing experience to every guest in terms of stay experience, it is also most famous for its special health restaurant that is full of nutrition and deliciousness. Many rich and distinguished people like to come here, and there are also many business people and elite bosses who are keen to discuss cooperation with customers here. When Tao Sile saw Yi Fan bringing her to the hotel, she was suddenly surprised and felt a little bit expectant for no reason. Is this progress too fast? But she did have a good impression of Mark. Especially after he saved her life, her feelings towards him were completely different. The food in the special health restaurant on the second floor here is very good. It is suitable for a body like yours to replenish nutrition. You can wait and see what you want to eat. Tao Sile was still brainstorming crazily when he suddenly heard Mark say this and realized that he had misunderstood. So you brought me here for dinner. Fortunately, I almost thought. Tao Sile quickly covered her mouth. Yi Fan realized the meaning in time. You almost thought that. What did you think? Seeing Yi Fan looking at him with a deliberately evil smile, Tao Sile was so embarrassed. Nothing. I didn't think anything of it. Yi Fan smiled and patted her head. What are you thinking about? With your current body, even if you really want to ask me to exercise, you will have to wait for a while to recover. Tao Sile listened to the deliberately stressed word sports in Yi Fan's words and immediately understood that what he said was clearly not literal. You bad guy. It stands to reason that Tao Sile should hate boys talking to her in such an inappropriate way, but Yi Fan's bad appearance made her more and more attracted. The two came to the restaurant. After Yi Fan checked off the menu, various nutritious and healthy dishes were soon served one by one: dendrobium pork ribs and abalone soup, imperial Buddha jumping over the wall, braised shark's fin, stir-fried phoenix tongue, coconut milk rock sugar bird's nest, etc. filled the table, and I ordered nearly 200,000 yuan worth of dishes. Ding. Spend 93 yuan on a good-looking woman with a score of 19, trigger a critical hit, and get a rebate of 8 times. Congratulations on getting a rebate of 200 million yuan. Yi Fan was a little surprised. This was the second time I spent it on Tao Sile, and it triggered a critical hit twice in a row. It seems that Tao Sile is indeed a target worth focusing on cultivating. Seeing Yi Fan's happy expression after paying the bill, Tao Sile thought that the meal was very cost-effective, so he took the bill and looked at it. The result almost made my jaw drop when I saw it. This meal actually costs nearly 20 yuan. Tao Sile looked at Yi Fan in disbelief and asked. Yi Fan scooped up a mouthful of shark fin and put it into his mouth, and said calmly, yes, these ingredients plus the level of the 5-star chefs, it's quite a deal. Is this a good deal? Is this how rich people define a good deal? And he can eat 20 people in one meal. How terrible is Yi Fan's real net worth? Tao Sile was numb and didn't dare to think about it anymore, but looking at each dish, he still couldn't bring himself to pick them up. if a dish falls off the table, it's equivalent to thousands of dollars gone. Yi Fan saw Tao Xiao's confusion and directly moved the bird's nest in front of her. You can eat it with confidence, it's really not expensive for me. And if you don't eat it, wait until the waiter throws it away, then all your money will really be wasted. Tao Xiao dared to move her chopsticks after hearing this. Only then did she remember to ask Mark how he saved her from death. After all, it sounds so incredible that you can cure diseases just by putting your hands on it. Chapter 28 Leng Ao's best friend appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing Tao Xiao's question, Yi Fan's mind turned around and he quickly came up with a suitable explanation. No, I can't cure the disease just by putting my hands on you. In fact, I have been pressing the corresponding acupuncture points on your body to stimulate the blood in your body to flow back to your heart. Then your myocardial ischemia symptoms are relieved, and naturally you'll wake up so soon. Yi Fan answered without changing his expression or heartbeat. This answer is so reasonable. Even he himself is convinced. Sure enough, Tao Xiao, who didn't know much about medical skills, immediately believed Yi Fan's words. Wow! Then you are really amazing. Not only have you accumulated so much property on your own at a young age, but you are also so good at treating diseases and saving people. Tao Xiao praised Mark from the bottom of his heart and began to appreciate Yi Fan more and more. The man in front of her was thousands and thousands of times better than those boys before who only used money to throw money at her. The reason why Tao Xiao has always been single is because she has extremely high standards for her boyfriends, but now, she feels as if she has found an excellent man who perfectly meets her criteria for a mate. By the way, your myocardial ischemia problem will not be completely cured in a short while. You still need to continue long-term maintenance and treatment. Yi Fan's reminder pulled Tao Xiao out of her beautiful fantasy, and she subconsciously asked. Then if I need treatment, is there any way? Of course the best way is to massage the acupuncture points near your heart like I did before. This is the method with the least side effects. You can think about it yourself. Yi Fan's treatment directly uses palm power. This kind of supernatural and mysterious power is of course much more effective than taking medicine or other primitive methods. Yi Fan's words brought Tao Xiao back to the previous scene. A few blushes immediately climbed onto Tao Xiao's cheeks. Yi Fan smiled evilly and added, by the way, if you directly contact the skin for treatment, the effect will be better. Hearing what Mark said, Tao Xiao's face was so red that he almost smoked. He immediately cursed Rogue secretly and started eating, but while eating, she really thought about this method seriously. The two finished their meal and prepared to leave. Sister and I. Suddenly, Tao Xiao excitedly grabbed a woman who was passing by wearing stiletto heels and a suit with a hip-covering skirt. Leng Ao paused when she heard the words, and when she saw Tao Xiao, her expression suddenly changed from cold to warm and friendly. Xiao. Why are you here? Sister and I, let me introduce to you, this is my classmate at school, Yi Fan. Tao Xiao quickly took Leng Ao and introduced Mark to her. Only then did Leng Ao realize that the handsome man standing beside him was actually with Tao Xiao. Hello, I am Leng Ao. When facing Yi Fan, Leng Ao's face changed to a cold expression that kept strangers away, and her whole person exuded a cold and arrogant aura. Yi Fan looked at Leng Ao's appearance, which was not inferior to Tao Xiao's. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the appearance score on her head, 94 points. Hello, I'm Yi Fan. Seeing that the two of them had introduced themselves, Tao Xiao immediately added to Yi Fan. Yi Fan, sister and I are best friends, and she is also our senior sister at Imperial University. Her father is also one of the shareholders of Imperial University, and she is also the president of NI Group. NA Group. During the wine tasting party, Yi Fan kept hearing the owners talking about the major families in the imperial capital, and it seemed that there was someone named Ni among them. It seems like this woman has quite a lot of background. At such a young age, he has already taken the position of president in the family business. It's a pity that the score is so high. This kind of woman is generally not short of money and has a broad vision. What good and expensive ones have I never seen? It's not easy to spend money on them. the reward was too laborious, and Yi Fan was not interested in getting it for the time being. After thinking about this matter, he suddenly became less interested in Ni Lengyue. Moreover, he could see that Ni Lengyue's attitude towards him at this time was also a bit inexplicable. It should be the feeling that the legendary girls can't stand their best friend's boyfriend. Sure enough, the next second Ni Lengyue signaled to Yi Fan to wait a moment, and then suddenly pulled Tao Sile into a box in the aisle next to him, in the golden box. "Sister Ni, why did you suddenly bring me in?" Tao Sile asked confused. "Tell your sister honestly, is that man outside your boyfriend?" Ni Lengyue asked. When Tao Sile heard this, his ears suddenly turned red. "We haven't even figured out our horoscopes yet. We are just ordinary classmates now." Seeing the little girl's shy look, Ni Lengyue could tell immediately that her best friend was attracted to her. "Then tell me what his specific conditions are. You, a naive girl who has never been in love, should not be deceived by a handsome guy." To be honest, Ni Lengyue's first impression of Mark was actually very average. There is no other reason than that this boy is so handsome. Ni Lengyue often dealt with men in business. Generally, men who were a little handsome were not good-mannered. For someone as handsome as a celebrity, in Ni Lengyue's opinion, 80% of the people's character is in shreds, so she quickly pulled Tao Sile to ask about the situation, to help her check things in, or to persuade her to be clear-headed and not jump in headlong. "Oh no, Sister Ni, Yi Fan is a super nice person. The first time he met me, he spent 50 for me to get rid of a boy who had been stalking me. And he is not only handsome and rich, he is also proficient in medical skills and a gentleman. I dare say that there is no such good man as him in the entire imperial capital." Tao Sile praised Yi Fan with stars in his eyes, and Ni Lengyue felt even worse after hearing this. She knew a lot of rich young men, most of whom were the rich second generation who were prodigal. It's too late to cause trouble, but he's also handsome and proficient in medical skills. Not to mention that there is no such young man in the imperial capital. Even if you look at the entire country of China, there is no such thing. My best friend is completely trapped. Alarm bells rang loudly in Ni Lengyue's heart, and Tao Sile began to persuade her. "Sister Ni, you are still talking about me. You have been immersed in work for so many years, and you have never been in love like me. In fact, you should also think about finding a partner." Ni Lengyue quickly interrupted Tao Sile and wanted her to recognize the reality. However, before she could speak, a man wearing a gold chain suddenly pushed open their box door and barged in. The man threw down a few stacks of cash and directly ordered. "The boxes outside are full. I want this box. You too, take the money and leave quickly." Chapter 29, Is it time to find a relationship to talk about? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The man who broke into the box was Sun Dehai, the owner of a materials company in the imperial capital. He originally made an appointment with someone to discuss cooperation at the health restaurant of the Wenjina Hotel, but when he arrived, he found that the private room was full today. He also broke into other boxes, but when he saw men urinating, he didn't dare to do anything extraordinary. It was not easy for him to find a box with only girls, so he wanted to kick the two of them out and use the box to entertain the big boss who was going to meet later. Ni Lengyue looked at the man who couldn't help but drive them away after he broke in. His face changed and he became angry. "Who are you? Who allowed you to break into our box like this? And this box was originally reserved by me, so we have to leave if you let us go." Sun Dehai frowned when he heard this and threw down a few hundred yuan bills. "Miss, let me give you some more money. This money is enough for you to book 2 private rooms. I advise you to accept it when you are ready, and don't be shameless. Leave immediately after taking the money. I'm here still in a hurry." Ni Lengyue was completely laughed at Sun Dehai's behavior. "Do you really think that you can do whatever you want with just a little bit of money? Let me tell you, we are not short of your 3 melons and 2 dates. If you don't go out, I will ask the waiter to ask you out." After finishing speaking, Ni Lengyue saw that Sun Dehai still looked indifferent and immediately pressed the service bell. The waiter hurried over and said, "Guest, do you have any instructions?" Ni Lengyue pointed at Sun Dehai, who looked arrogant and fearless. this man who doesn't know where he came from disturbed our meal and wanted to occupy our box. Please help us deal with it quickly. After the waiter understood the situation, he asked Sun Dehai to leave. However, not only did Sun Dehai not move even half a step, he even snorted and stepped forward to threaten the waiter. Do you know who I'm going to banquet with later? The one I want to banquet with is the boss of your hotel, Zhao Tianrui, and Director Zhao, one of the directors of Baoli Real Estate. If it's because of you that I don't take good care of Director Zhao, do you think you can shoulder this responsibility? That the waiter didn't expect that the person this vulgar man in front of him wanted to entertain was actually the person in charge of the hotel's top company. Under Sun Dehai's coercion and inducement, she could only persuade Ni Lengyue and Tao Sile to leave. Ni Lengyue had never encountered such an unreasonable situation before, and she was unwilling to give up her box no matter what. Humph. You bitch, you're so damn fine with the toast instead of eating it. Since you won't leave, don't blame me for not showing mercy. After saying that, Sun Dehai picked up a wine bottle on the table and smashed it on the table. The glass shards flew everywhere instantly, and a larger shard flew directly to Ni Lengyue's calf and opened a huge gash. If you don't leave, I can't guarantee whether this broken wine bottle will fall on you later. Sun Dehai threatened wildly, but before his arrogant expression could last long, a foot landed heavily on his back and kicked him aside for a long distance. Who the hell dares to kick me? Sun Dehai turned around and saw a tall and straight-looking Yi Fan appearing at the door of the box. Although he had a young face, he inexplicably exuded a mature aura that transcended his age. Yi Fan. Fortunately, you came in time. Tao Sile had been extremely frightened ever since Sun Dehai started throwing the wine bottle. When Mark appeared, he couldn't help but rushed into his arms and hugged him. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Yi Fan patted Tao Sile in his arms to comfort him. Just now, he was wondering why the two girls hadn't come out for a long time, but then he heard a heavy sound coming from the two people's box, and then he came over to check the situation despite the possibility of offending. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived, he saw a man being domineering here, so he couldn't help but kicked him down. Ni Lengyue, who felt pain from the wound on her leg, looked at her best friend being caressed and comforted in Yi Fan's arms. For some reason, she suddenly felt a little envious in her heart. Is it really like what Sile said, that he should find a relationship to talk about? Yi Fan's kick took Sun Dehai a long time to get up. How dare you fucking kick me? I tell you, you will definitely die now. Sun Dehai rubbed his waist and yelled at the waiter. Why don't you call your manager over now? Just say that Sun Dehai was beaten. The waiter was so frightened that he almost cried. He nodded quickly and went out to find the manager. Humph, you kid is still trying to be a hero here, right? Let me tell you, Manager Guotaiha here is one of my people. When he comes, you will be able to look good. Yi Fan frowned when he heard this. Why is it this kind of drama where people in power take advantage of their positions to give and receive privately? Every time you come to the property you own, do you have to carry out a rodent control? But after a moment he understood the naturalness of it all. Isn't it true that the bright places in this world will always be accompanied by infinite darkness growing in the corners? As long as there are people and power, there will inevitably be shady things. Maybe, this is human nature. There were hurried footsteps outside the box door. It was Guo Taiha coming with a few security guards. Manager Guo. This is the man who kicked and injured me. Catch him quickly. And these two women, drive them out quickly. Director Zhao will be here soon. You don't want Director Zhao to see the joke. Guo Taiha nodded when he heard this. Sun Dehai had given him many benefits after negotiating a cooperation with his own director. Naturally, he wanted to help Sun Dehai with this small favor. Two ladies, please leave with us quickly. And this gentleman, we are now going to hold you responsible for causing trouble in our hotel. Please cooperate with us. Otherwise, it will not look good if the police are called. Guo Taiha warned sternly. Ni Lengyue still wanted to argue, but saw Mark suddenly laughing in front of everyone. Sir, what are you laughing at? I've warned you once. Do you really want to make trouble in our hotel and report to us to warn you? Yi Fan stopped laughing, but the sneer at the corner of his mouth hung. I'm just laughing. The behavior you showed here is exactly what I imagined. It ruined our Baoli's reputation and image exactly the same. Guo Taihe looked at Mark with confusion, obviously not understanding the meaning of his words. At this time, Sun Dehai's originally domineering expression suddenly changed. He looked at the figure approaching from outside the box and immediately greeted him in a flattering manner. Director Zhao, you're here. I'm sorry to make you read the joke, but we still have a little misunderstanding in the box. After Manager Guo is done with it, we can have dinner and talk about the specific content of the cooperation. Sun Dehai respectfully stretched out his hands to shake Zhao Tianrui's hand. Zhao Tianrui looked in his direction, his originally unconcerned expression suddenly turned into one full of surprise and respect, and he stretched out his hands as if to shake hands. Sun Dehai was ecstatic. He didn't expect Zhao Tianrui to think so highly of him today. However, just when he was about to meet Zhao Tianrui passed him directly and ran towards Yi Fan, who was standing calmly aside. Chapter 30 The Majesty of the Chairman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Director Yi. It's better to see you than to hear it once. It's such a coincidence that I saw you here today. Zhao Tianrui's old and wrinkled face was filled with a respectful smile. He held Yi Fan's hand tightly and greeted him warmly. Everyone present was a little surprised when they saw Baoli's director being so respectful and polite to Yi Fan. Seeing everyone's obviously confused expressions, Zhao Tianrui quickly introduced Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe. Manager Guo, Boss Sun, because Yi Dong just acquired the shares of our real estate, you probably haven't heard the news yet. The person in front of you is Chairman Yi Fanya, who has just acquired 75% of the shares of Baoli Real Estate. Now he is the well-deserved largest shareholder of Baoli Real Estate and the top leader of our entire board of directors. Zhao Tianrui couldn't stop applauding as he introduced. Leng Yue and Tao Sile were obviously surprised by this information. The former was more curious about Mark, while Tao Sile admired Mark even more. However, after learning Yi Fan's true identity, Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe suddenly turned pale, as if they had seen a ghost. The person they clamored for to settle the score turned out to be the new owner of Baoli Real Estate. Being so young and handsome, they didn't even think about Yi Fan's status in the direction just now. As a result, not only did they have status, but they were also directly the boss-level figures above them who could crush them to death. Sun Dehai's buttocks were wet with cold sweat, and Guo Taihe's hands and feet couldn't help but start to tremble. It's over now, they have to deal with such a big shot, even hundreds of deaths are not enough. Zhao Tianrui frowned slightly when he saw Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe's obviously unreasonable behavior. These two people usually look very eye-catching, but now they don't even understand the most basic compliments and politeness when they meet their own chairman. What's going on with you two? I introduced the identity of Chairman Yi. What do you two want to do by standing there without saying hello? Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe, who had been scolded, finally recovered a little and hurriedly asked Yi Fan tremblingly. Yi, hello, Chairman Yi. Yi Fan lowered his eyes and looked at their greetings. His calm demeanor as always seemed to contain a shocking majesty. Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe trembled again when they looked at Yi Fan. Zhao Tianrui was very dissatisfied with the attitude of the two of them and was about to reprimand them when Tao Sile stood up at this time. Hello, Director Zhao, the truth is, I was just chatting with my friend in this box, and this guy named Sun Dehai rushed in and tried to drive us away and occupy our box. When we refused, he broke the glass bottle and threatened to kill us. Fortunately, Chairman Yi came in to help us out. As a result, Manager Guo and Sun Dehai here actually worked together to continue to force each other, and even said that Chairman Yi would be held accountable. It's my responsibility. What? After Zhao Tianrui understood the whole process, his expression changed drastically, and he slammed the table in disbelief. Sun Dehai. Guo Taihe. You two are so brave. How dare you do such a thing to our noble chairman? Zhao Tianrui's outburst of anger frightened Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe to the point where their legs went weak and they knelt down. Director Zhao, this is what Sun Dehai was looking for first. I was also worried about offending you. If I knew the identity of Chairman Yi, I would not dare to do this. Guo Taihe quickly shifted all the responsibility to Sun Dehai. Sun Dehai didn't expect Guo Taihe to be such a bitch, but he was indeed the one who caused the incident. He couldn't argue for a while, so he could only kowtow to Yi Fan crazily and beg him for forgiveness. Chairman Yi. I offended you because of my stupidity. Please forgive me this time for the sake of our company having cooperated with your company for so long. Yi Fan was too lazy to listen to these two people farting here. Anyway, when he is in his position, his subordinates will naturally know how to deal with those who offend him. Yi Fan glanced at Zhao Tianrui lightly. Zhao Tianrui immediately stepped forward and kicked Sun Dehai's hand that was trying to hold Yi Fan's trousers away. You want to touch our chairman Yi with your dirty hands? And you dare to mention cooperation? Our company cooperates with you, that's because we kindly share some soup for you. Since you have the guts to offend our chairman Yi Chief, starting from today, the cooperation between our Baoli Real Estate and your company will be officially terminated. And we, Baoli, will continue to hold your company accountable for the losses you have caused. Zhao Tianrui gave an order and sentenced Sun Dehai to death for his cooperation. Sun Dehai collapsed weakly on the ground, crying like a child weighing more than 200 pounds. After Sun Dehai took care of it, it was Guo Taihe's turn, who neglected his duties and ignored right and wrong. Guo Taihe. Do I need to say more about what I'm going to say next? Go to the Human Resources Department and get your severance contract. From now on, you won't even think that any company in the hotel industry will dare to accept you. Guo Taihe didn't expect that he would lose such a good job and be banned from the entire industry just for the benefits he got from opening the back door. Feeling sad and regretful, he became angry when he looked at Sun Dehai standing by, and immediately crawled over to start a fight with him. Chairman Yi, are you satisfied with this handling? Zhao Tianrui asked cautiously while reporting to Yi Fan. Director Zhao, you have your own principles and experience in doing things. Naturally, I am satisfied with and believe in your handling methods. Yi Fan secretly affirmed Zhao Tianrui's approach with words that were subtle and watertight. After hearing this, Zhao Tianrui dared to feel relieved a little, and he and several security guards took Sun Dehai and Guo Taihe out of the box during the scuffle, leaving space for Yi Fan and the others. Yi Fan, I didn't expect that you are still the chairman of Baoli Real Estate. This is amazing. Tao Sile couldn't hide the admiration in his heart. He clenched his hands into fists and held his chin, looking at Mark with starry eyes. Leng Ao also changed her previous cold attitude and spoke proactively. Thank you. If it weren't for you, our trouble today probably wouldn't have been solved so quickly. Yi Fan nodded lightly and said he didn't need to worry. The three of them were about to leave the box, when Tao Sile discovered Leng Ao's injury from her walking style. Sister Ni, were you scratched by glass fragments just now? Your legs are still bleeding now. It's okay. It's just a minor injury. I'll just find a small clinic to take care of it after I get out. Tao Sile quickly stopped her from continuing to walk. No, your wound is too big. It will be dangerous if you don't treat it. That's right. Yi Fan has very good medical skills. Tao Sile quickly turned to Yi Fan and asked, Yi Fan, could you please check Sister Ni first?